We have no investment in the molecules themselves. We depend on the gas suppliers to give us the molecules. What we invested in are just the gas delivery infrastructure, pipelines, gas midstream station, gas receiving station.
Good day. Welcome to another edition of Power Links. I'm your regular host, Bolanle Oluchi Babalola. Industry players call it gas to power, GTP, or better still, gas to wire, GTW. And to our common understanding, it is an expression of using gas resources with electricity as the end product. Well, all of this did not happen by accident. A lot of hard work and investment is required to have a flourishing infrastructure by indigenous operators, international oil companies, IOCs, to prospect and process consumers like the National Integrated Power Project, NIPP, to buy in order to generate electricity with efficiency before transmission and distribution to the end user like you and me. Under the NIPP, customized gas turbine generators, either in simple cycle or combined cycle configurations, are used by the organization to generate electricity from natural gas sources. Heavy investment on infrastructure as indispensable components has been made in order to underscore the integrated approach of the project to deliver on its mandate. Often, this is overlooked in appreciating the workings of the system.
When people think of power generation, we hardly consider the investment made in gas delivery system and of infrastructure as well. For NIPP, main focus when the project was conceived, the main focus was on establishing power plants. But power plants comes with the ancillary investments in gas delivery infrastructure and associated evacuation infrastructure, transmission infrastructure, and then of course downstream distribution infrastructure. NIPP, all the power plants, the 10 power plants, we made significant investments in the delivery pipeline, at least connecting the pipeline to an existing network. It could be 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers, depending on the distance from the network. It could also be in terms of connecting to existing gas gathering facility, like we have in Bahrain. We have a 1.5 kilometer pipeline from the shale facility to our power plant. We have in Calabar, we did more than 21.5 kilometers from the power plant to Craig Town, where the gas supplier now met us with its own pipeline. That's talking about 7 Energy in that case. Other pipelines, we have the delivery infrastructure like Omotosho, Longshogo, Sapele will have to link to existing NGC network, Nigerian Gas Company network. So in terms of gas infrastructure, we have significant investment there. We also have made investments in gas metering stations and gas receiving stations. Gas metering stations and gas receiving stations in all the power plants.
Gas to the power industry is almost like the blood in our veins. Well, maybe not exactly, because the blood does not is not a consumable, so to say, but it's the major thing that drives the turbine that we use to generate electricity. So it's very important. Then it is located in a particular region, or at least in Nigeria, the location is in a particular region as at today. So it needs to be transported from beneath the earth and brought to and refined, purified, made pure for use in the turbines. So apart from mining it, or so to say, from under the ground or from wherever, you have to transport it, you have to make it clean, and you have to bring it at a particular speed, at a particular temperature, and at a particular purity to the generators. So that's the importance of the gas. When people look at the location of some of our plants, the reason why they are located in those places is to ensure that the cost of bringing the gas from the wells to the plants is reduced as much as possible, because the pipes that we use to transport this commodity, this essential commodity, are very expensive, and the specifications, because of safety issues, you have to bury it at a particular level below the earth. You have to use a particular type of pipe to carry it from the well to the power stations. You have to bring it at a particular speed. You have to bring it, which we call the pressure. You have to bring it at a particular temperature. You have to deliver it to the plant at a particular temperature. This is just bringing it to the understanding of the ordinary man on the street. So a lot of work has to be done. And then the issue of measuring the volume and the amount that is being delivered.
For gas to be available, major consumers of the product, including the NIPP, privatized entities and independent power producers, classified based on ownership, largely depend on operators in the business and initiatives by the federal government to deliver commodity. Findings show Shell had a pioneering role since 1962 of gas development for industrial and power generation as sole supplier until 1998. Since then, opportunities have continued to be explored with exploration and investment on the commodity for economic growth and well-being of the people by the federal government. Around May this year, the NNPC identified 7 critical gas development projects to deliver 3.4 million standard cubic feet of gas per day to bridge gaps expected to meet 15,000 megawatts power generation for the country. All power plants are connected to permanent gas supply network, including the NIPP, particularly networks around Oben, Geregu, Escravos, Warri, Oven, Imo, River, Aloaji, and Ukanufun, Calabar axis. The federal government is also working on 614-kilometer Ajokuta-Kaduna-Kano pipeline to supply power plants and industries in the axis.
Well, in the last 3 years when this government has come into office, there has been significant improvement in availability of gas. Today, virtually all our power plants have access to gas. Yes, occasionally in the western axis, in Olorun-Sogo, for instance, we still have a drop in pressure and those plants are built to receive gas at a particular pressure. Once the pressure drops below that, then we are not able to start up the power plant or to operate it. But technology is again improving on that, and we are exploring the possibility of ensuring that that plant can take gas at a much lower pressure.
For gas supply, NDPHC, 5 out of the 8 power plants, we get the gas from the Nigerian Gas Company, which is a subsidiary of NNPC, on best effort basis. We do not have any concrete agreement with them because of the funding cost of having an agreement. Because we do not have a power purchase agreement for any of our power plants, so we are not able to enter into any agreement with the Nigerian Gas Company. So they supply us gas based on best effort basis. So we usually have a maximum of 2 turbines running at any of those 5 power plants. As for payment is made directly to the gas companies by NBET. But for the other power plants, for Bahrain, we have an interim agreement with Shell, and we have only 1 unit, and we don't have issues of gas supply there. For Aloji, where we have 4 units, 4 turbines, we also have an interim agreement with Total. For the same reason, we cannot enter into a full gas sales agreement with them because of the LC requirement for that gas agreement. So we have an interim agreement, and as far as Aloji is concerned, with our relationship with Total, the only constraint for gas there is the dispatch from NCC. On a day that NCC can take 2 units, we can get gas for the 2 units. Then for Calabar, that is where we have a full gas sales agreement, which is even backed by a partial risk guarantee issued by the World Bank, guaranteed by the federal government. So for the 5 units in Calabar, we have gas because of the GSA we have with Akugas. And the issue there is, the only challenge there is dispatch. But as for gas, we have a firm agreement, and gas is available for all the 5 units. As for payment for the gas, is made directly by NBET to the gas companies. So as they pay the energy invoices, the portion for gas is paid directly to the gas companies. And since the introduction of the payment assurance program of 701 billion provided by the federal government to boost the electricity supply by ensuring and guaranteeing 80% payment of 80% of the energy invoices to the GenCos. The payment out of that 80%, 90% of gas invoices are settled directly by NBET in favor of the gas companies. So we don't have issues about payment. We are owed 20% of our energy invoices, and we also owe for the 10% of the gas invoice.
Without ownership in the gas wells by the NIPP, but huge investments in the infrastructure, the NIPP says there are challenges which are never insurmountable.
In as much as we have inadequate gas supply, I think the main problem for us is dispatch. What I mean by dispatch is being able to operate our plants optimally or fully because of evacuation constraints, transmission constraints, occasioned by distribution constraints as well. So if distribution does not take, there is no point for transmission to carry the electricity from our power plants. So you find out that we have 4 units. On a given day, we'll probably have 1 unit. Some days we are not even called up at all. In a very good day, if it's so good, we are called up, 2 units are called up. So on that level, you see that your gas consumption is low. So now putting that in context, now you find out that you're not going to, most gas agreements come with take or pay. What do you mean? It's either you take or you pay for it at, again, average of about 80%. So you reach an agreement for full agreement for the full power plant supply. You have 4 units, and the 4 units will probably be taking 100 million scuff per day. You find out that you only dispatch 1 at the average of, say, 25 million scuff per day. If you have an agreement that puts you at 80%, you find out that you're supposed to take 80 million scuff per day, or you pay for it. So where are you going to get money to pay for it? So the level of dispatch is what determines our level of commitment for gas supply. Because right now we're facing the same problem in Calabar, where we have the gas supply agreement, but the level of dispatch has not increased because of the rejection of fluid by discos, which constrains transmission. So that's the major issue we have. So we find out that all the power plants, and I'm sure for all centrally dispatched power plants, grid connected power plants, we'll probably have only Calabar's only signed an effective agreement. I can't think of any now that's signed and effective. Everyone runs on what we call best endeavor basis, so that there is no commitment to pay for 80%. But it also the flip side, especially for us, is so if you don't have security of payment, you don't have security of supply.
The gas sales agreement is supposed to be matched with a power purchase agreement, because if you enter into an agreement to commit to make payments for gas and you don't have a power purchase agreement, then there will be a mismatch. And the position of government has been that NDPHC plants will have power purchase agreements post-privatization. But we are still working with the regulator and the stakeholder agencies to see how, in view of the delay in the privatization, which is as a result of the conditions in the market, if the NDPHC power plants will be considered for the PPA, so that we can also have firm contracts with our gas suppliers.
Do not own the oil wells. Some people own the oil wells, some people lease it. The NDPHC, for instance, is responsible for transporting gas. So it's a mesh. It's a mesh, and everybody in the circle work together to ensure delivery of power supply to the nation.
The impact of the hard work by the NIPP management is manifesting with even more greater commitment by operators of its power plants. Dauda Mohammed, the officer in charge of the Geregu 2 NIPP power station in Kogi State, explains.
The management are trying on their own best to see that all that we requested is granted to us. What I mean by that is they are paying the gas promptly, and that is why we don't have issue. And also in terms of availability and reliability of the machine, one of the most fundamentals in maintenance of a power plant is to observe the minor inspection as soon as possible. And I'm glad to inform you now that the contract for the second minor inspection has been signed, and in a very short while Siemens will mobilize to site to carry the second minor inspection here. Also, that is not enough. I have been informed fully that also we have contracts for supply of both main filters and the pro-filters are all being given to contractor to bring. We are waiting for the contractor. And there are a lot of other things to ensure reliability of the station. And we are glad and I'm happy about it.
Nigerians have seen changes, but Nigerians will see more changes in power sector. That's the assurance I'm giving Nigerians. Yeah, with the support, the president has given us tremendous support. President Buhari has given us tremendous support. It's right at his heart to ensure that Nigerians have light. And we are working on that, riding on that.
People deliberately attack infrastructures and public utilities. I think that's wickedness of the highest order. And I think we need to talk to ourselves. I mean, these people who do these things are not aliens from the outer space. They are our brothers, they are our sisters, they are our fathers, they are our children. We sleep on the same bed with them, we put hands in the same plate of food with them, and therefore we ought to understand the danger in this. What we're doing is that we're taking ourselves back 100 years.
end tonight's edition of the program, we again reiterate the appeal by the NIPP against vandalism of the nation's collective wealth of national infrastructure assets, which the government spends huge resources to provide for economic development. We urge you to also support all programs and policies aimed at improving the availability and reliability of power supply. From our end, we say thank you for watching this edition of the program, and remember to get in touch with us via our social media platform on your screen, and we promise to get back to you. Until next time, I am Bolanle Oluchi Babalola.